René, you're muted.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Just keep on talking. I have to get my things together. Okay.
Okay. So welcome everyone. Please put your camera on if it's possible for you, because it's nice for us all to see each other. Thank you. Hi, Elaine. Hi, everyone. Hi, Mary Beth.
I'm sorry, I'm just checking up.
Mary Ellen's just trying to help some people who are, struggling to join. And the rest of you, if you want to talk a bit until class starts. But yeah, please put your cameras on if you can.
Shanka, I see your email that you didn't get the link. Usually with the Zoom registration, you get it in email afterwards. Since you're here, I'm assuming everything went okay?
Yes, but yeah, when I registered yesterday, I never got an email never got a link after that. So this morning, in your reminder message, I was able to, it just takes you to the Zoom thing directly. So I was able, that's how I got through. So just so you know.
Perfect. Good.
Mary Ellen, that happened to me also. I never got the second link, but I got in just like Shanka did this morning.
Okay, well, maybe that's the key to do it that morning. They are specific to a particular session, and it's just because, as the people at Shantideva Center are aware, there's been an increase in the incidence of Zoom bombing. So this way we can publish the link broadly, and we will always know who's in the room. So it's just a security measure. Oh. And
Mary Ellen.
Hello.
Good morning, Elaine.
I'm going to put in I've just put an email address. It's lamrimmahamudra@gmail.com. I put in the chat box. So if you have issues with this, you can send an email to that, and then I can share that with the other people who are hosting. So there's more people who are helping. Oh. Welcome, Donna and Talia. So good to see you. Cindy, too, Nadezhda, everyone. Welcome, Sneh. And hopefully everyone has the Manasakapa Guru Yoga. I'm going to put it in the chat just in case. You can continue chatting until Venerable René is ready to begin.
So, hello everyone. Nice to see many old friends from so many places. Yeah, it's heartwarming, you know. It makes, even though we live all over the place, we're still connected with the heart, you know. So it makes some kind of virtual sangha, you know. So I think this is excellent. Especially this is the first session since our dear heart guru Lama Zopa Rinpoche passed away. So I think it's we all individually went to this period of grief, of loss, because I think it was kind of unexpected. You know, all of us might have had some kind of unfinished business with Rinpoche. You know, we all thought maybe, oh, I will meet him once more and I will tell this, or I will ask this or that advice and things like that. And so we weren't able to finish, you know, what we thought we could have the time to finish someday, you know. So, and also all of us are at different stage in our spiritual journey, you know. So some people are old students which already have an established practice. They have received all the advice for how to practice in this life. So they have studied extensively and, you know, have their understanding of the whole spiritual path, you know, based on guru devotion, lamrim, generation, completion stage. So they're quite confident in their path, no? So it's like when the Buddha passed away, the student asked him, you know, who should they rely on? And then the Buddha said, well, now you have to rely on the teachings. You know, all the teaching that I gave, this is your refuge now. This is how to move forward, right? So for us, the older student, we have received, you know, 40, 50 years of teachings from His Holiness, from Lama Yeshe, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and there's a clear way to practice. So for us, it's easy to find this refuge in the Dharma. And then they say later on, you know, as one gets comfortable with one's practice, then the third level of refuge is to take refuge in one's own experience, right? So then from the outer guru, it goes to the inner guru, right? So based on your experience, then you start being confident, you know, you can get in touch with the inner guru that is inseparable with the outer guru, right? So of course, people which are newer, so it's more unsettling because they might have just had one or two meetings with Rinpoche, or they are not yet confident in how to progress. They have doubts, and so for those it's more difficult, right? So so then there's the tradition to rely on the older student, or then even you see life goes on and one finds new gurus, right? And one finds new teacher to inspire us and to guide us. So it's not like it's not like the world has ceased, right? So there's a new guru, you know, there's Khandrola and Jado Rinpoche and so many other masters, and some that we might not even know yet, right? That come up, younger generation of realized beings. I think, you see, apart from the teaching, there's another level of what a being like Lama Yeshe or Lama Zopa Rinpoche inspired us. You see, or like His Holiness Dalai Lama. So most of us have been in the presence of master like that. So more than the teaching is to be in the presence. You see, in Hinduism, they call that darshan, you know. So you go into the presence of an enlightened being, and then that person, whether that person speak or not, just merely being in the presence, your mental affliction becomes less heavy. So you, by being in their presence, your mind becomes lighter, and you discover a better sense of yourself. You experience a purer experience of yourself, and naturally you have loving kindness, naturally you're gentler. So all this quality is almost like by being in the presence, it affects your mind, right? So your mind temporarily, while you're in their presence, you experience this better sense of yourself, right? So I think we all have experienced that. So our job now with the Guru Yoga is to reawaken that experience. You see, Guru, how to say, if we're able to remember what it felt like to be in the presence of these holy beings, and you bring that into your Guru Yoga, right? So you see, more important than the visualization is that feeling of how it felt to be in their presence, right? And that awakens that in your heart, right? So you don't necessarily need to be physically in their presence if you can remember how it felt to be in their presence, right? So in Guru Yoga, so you bring your guru, you remember your guru and how it felt to be in their presence. So you focus on their quality, their kindness, you know. So and then you let that emotion fill your heart, right? So in that sense, you see, even in the ancient time, some people met their guru only once in their life. You know, so the gurus in ancient time, there was no phone, no letter, not all these things, right? So the gurus were traveling, right, wandering, monks or sadhus, things like that. And the sadhu stops a night in the village and he gives a talk, right? And then the guru moves on and they never meet him again, right? So that was their but that the impact of that one meeting with their guru transformed their whole life, right? So for example, there's a story of just like that, a wandering teacher comes in a village and the student asks the teacher, can you give me a mantra, you know? And then the guru, you know, he was a bit annoyed because he already had many people coming through. It was the end of the day and things. So he said, yeah, your nose is like a raksha, you know. And then the student, you know, had complete faith in that mantra and in what the guru said. And he recited that mantra, you know, on and on and on with pure devotion. And 10 years later, the guru passed again into the village. And he heard of a healer, you know, a guy with psychic power and healing capacity. And then so the guru, which had a boil or he had some kind of infection or something, said, so, oh, I'm going to visit that healer, you know, and the healer told him, you know, healed him by reciting, your nose is like a raksha. You know, and then the guru laughed and remember, oh, actually I gave you that mantra 10 years ago, you know. And that student, because of his devotion and pure heart and practice, he got this realization, this you know, his psychic abilities. So I think this relationship with teacher, it doesn't mean that it has, you know, for some people it's just one meeting and it's life transforming, right? and for other, we had the chance to have that relationship for over many years or decades, you know. But it doesn't matter how long it is, it's the impact it has on your life and how you cultivate that impact. So what I wish that we do together during this course, I'm not so much interested to give you a lot of new information. Most of you are quite knowledgeable in Dharma, and there's many courses going on, many classes. So it's not the purpose. My purpose is that we together we get some experience. You see, that's what I feel, you know, to really nourish the heart, to help us, you know, grow together and to get some inner experience. Because at the end of the day, no matter how much you know, it can be very dry and very intellectual and not life transforming. Whereas if you have some experience, that experience, you see, nobody can take it away from you. And it's something that you can have confidence in. So I think, yeah, so if we can meditate together, I think it can really help us to, you know, to grow together. So the structure so in the Mahamudra tradition, or in the tradition in general, it starts with Guru Yoga, then one does Mahamudra, and then the one does Lamrim. So in the Gelugpa, there is two main Guru Yoga based on Lama Tsongkhapa. So each tradition has their own Guru Yoga, right? In the Gelugpa, the main one is is based on the prayer of Lama Tsongkhapa offered to Rendawa, you know, and then that Rendawa gave back this praise to Lama Tsongkhapa, says it's actually more appropriate, that praise is more appropriate for you. So, and that praise is called the Mitsema, or so that's the heart of Lama Tsongkhapa's Guru Yoga, is that praise that is recited either focusing on the meaning or recited like a mantra. So Lama Tsongkhapa gave the oral transmission to just a few disciples, and later on Gyalwa Ansapa, so that was 2-3 generations later, so he wrote down the Lama Chopa, the Guru Puja, right, which has become one of the main practice in the Gelugpa tradition. And the second was the Ganden Lagyema, which is a shorter or more condensed practice of the Lama Chopa that was written down by Nulshu Dhammadbhadra. So, which is around at the same time. So many monks or many practitioners in the Gelugpa tradition do both Guru Yoga every day. You know? So, and then the Lama Chopa has been, how to say, expanded by including the preliminary prayers, which the Jorche. So this has become the Jorche Lama Chopa, which Lama Zopa Rinpoche emphasized very much in his retreats. You know, so he made great effort to translate it, to make it chantable, and so forth. I think for people which do retreat, doing the George Lama Chöpa is really the main dish. So many great yogis gain their realization based on the Lama Chöpa or the George Lama Chöpa. So, for example, Pabanka Rinpoche, he used to do the George Lama Chöpa the whole morning, and then in the afternoon he would practice his tantric deity. So all the purification, accumulation, merit, and blessing was done on the base of the George Lama Chöpa. So the Ganden Lagema, or the Guru Yoga of Lama Tsongkhapa, is almost like the heart or the essence of the Lama Chöpa. So it has less words, it's faster, yet it has the same blessing as the Lama Chöpa. So for those which don't have time, for us in this modern world, where we are quite active and have many things to do. So I found the Ganden Lagyema is very, very suitable for our day and age. In the old days, for example, in Nalanda, we used to do it every morning. We do the Ganden Lagyema all together in the Gompa. So we used to recite it, so it takes about 15 minutes, 10-15 minutes. And then for half hour, each one would sit together with Geshe Tekchok, and each one would do their own prayer, their own meditation. And then at the end, we would dedicate together. And once I did, so in the Gelug tradition, when you want to do a long retreat, so usually you do some preliminaries before that. And Lama Zopa Rinpoche told me to do the 9 preliminaries. And one of them was to recite 100,000 Mitsema mantra. So based on the Ganden Lagyema, you recite the Mitsema 100,000 times. And among the preliminaries, it was one of the most powerful I did. It's really, you get a lot of blessing, and then whenever you read anything from Lama Tsongkhapa, it's almost like it reveals itself in another dimension. You almost like you understand why he wrote that, how he wrote it, and it really speaks to your heart. You get a much more intimate connection with Lama Tsongkhapa's writings, and it makes you understand more what it means. So I remember I wrote during that retreat that, based on Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, there's no realization you cannot get. Basically, the Lamrim becomes very much alive. So it's very easy to get experience if you practice on the Guru Yoga of Lama Tsongkhapa as a Gelugpa, So there's a lot of blessing there. And based on Mitsema, there's many different visualization one can do, right? So there's many tantric visualization one can do, and many sutra visualization. So gradually I will introduce some to you. So I like that practice very much, and I try to do it every day. And also with some friends, I try to make it chantable in English based on the traditional tune. So you see, we as Westerner now, we try to include this Tibetan, the way that worked for the Tibetans. So we try to bring that in our culture. So for those which know well Tibetan, so it's good to chant it in Tibetan. because they can chant and have the meaning at the same time. But for us Westerner, that's very difficult, because then you chant something which is like gibberish, which has no meaning, so you cannot put your heart and your intellect together. So to make it chantable in English, I think it's the next step where gradually poet and musician will translate and make it beautiful in our Western language to be able to chant them. So, for example, if you recite your prayer or your sadhana and you just read it, so that's one way of doing it. The second way is you recite it at the same time. So you speak them aloud while you read it, And then the third way is to chant them, right? So you will see there's a very different effect when you do the prayers, or when you just mentally recite, when you verbally recite, and when you chant them. So you have a completely different level of involvement in the prayers, So when you chant them, somehow your heart gets involved. If you just read them with your mind, it's mental. You deal with concept and ideas. When you speak them, already you're more involved, when you recite them aloud. And also when you recite them aloud, you're less distracted by the thought in your head. So you get also into a kind of momentum of reciting. You go into a groove, and you have a certain pace. So you can go on with your prayer much longer and being much less distracted with your thought. And then when you chant them, is another level of involvement. Your heart and your whole being goes inside, right? So you have the level of the mind where you know what you say. There's the intellect that is involved, and then is your heart, your emotion, right? So there's another level of transformation if you can chant your prayers, So that's why, in many cultures, you have this ritual of chanting together, right? And then you have this group energy, and you really get involved, and there's a level of transformation simply by chanting. You have that in the Gregorian chant, you have that in the Hindu mantra chanting, you have that in all the tradition, right? And the Tibetans, they love their pujas, chanting them together, So there is something there. For us, it's difficult because we haven't yet integrated that in our Western culture, because of the language, of things being in Tibetan. So gradually, I think we have to translate this in English or in our Western language, and being able to express them with our heart, So that's the work with some friends we have been working on, doing this Ganden Lagema or this Guru Yoga of Lama Tsongkhapa. And so we're going to do that together like that. So there's a reason why when you chant them, it has a more power, So normally, in the morning, you see, if one practice, there's a way to go about from the tradition, right? So first things in the morning is that you clean the place, or you maybe not necessarily clean up, but you tidy up the place where you're going to meditate, right? And then you set up the altar, right? So that's like the ritual. Any practitioner, that's how he goes about his day. He wakes up in the morning, he tidies up the place, and then he sets up the altar, right? So with some incense, to clean up, you put on some offering in front, and then normally I notice there's a great difference if I do the prostration to the 35 Buddhas or I do not. you know. So doing the prostration 35 Buddha, somehow it cleans your mind. When you sit up, you have much less interferences, you know. So myself, I had memorized them in Tibetan once, in English once, and then in another version of English one. So I knew once 3 versions, and then my mind got messed up, and now I don't know anyone anymore by heart. So what I did, I record myself on my phone, reciting the 35 Buddha, each name 3 times, and then the confession prayer. So now I just I put my phone on speaker, you know, and I do prostration at the same time, and I recite the name at the same time, right? So I don't need to bother about having lost, you know, having memorized them. And it takes, what, 10, 15 minutes. So it's not like a huge effort. And at the same time, it wakes you up because you do some exercise, you know, you do a few prostration while reciting them. So it's very good for the mind. And then sometimes I have pain or I don't feel like doing, you put my hand at the heart and I recite them while sitting, you know. So it's not necessarily for those which cannot do physical prostration because of some physical difficulty that they cannot do the prayer, right? So you just, you know, recite, you do prostration mentally, you know. You imagine all these Buddhas and like that you get their blessing. So as it says in the sutra, each name recited only once purifies eons of negative karma. So it's so powerful, you know. So each of the 35 names has so much power to purify the mind due to the prayer they made, you know, while they were bodhisattva, when they reached enlightenment. They say, you know, whoever recite that name, so many, you know, millions and millions of life of negative karma get purified. So to be able to have the chance to do that practice is very, very precious. And I really see the difference in my mind where if I do it or not. So it's really precious practice. And His Holiness Dalai Lama does it every morning. You know, his Rinpoche, Lama Zopa Rinpoche used to do it, you know, before having his stroke. So it's a practice that is very, how to say, very common and very, very appreciated. And for example, in the Shantideva and Bodhicharyavatara, he says that's in the practice of purification. He says, you know, recite this 3-hip sutra every day, you know. So I think it's very good if you can, you know, take that discipline. Really changes your mind, and then somehow your meditation improves just by doing that. And then one sits down on a comfortable seat. So usually the first practice one should do is to watch the to watch the breath. So either doing the 9-round breathing, right, or simply mindfully focus on the breath, you know, till the mind is settled. And then on that base, then generate a positive motivation. You know, why do I take refuge? You know, why do I do this spiritual practice? And then you have these 3 levels of motivation, right? So you try to go through the Lam Rim in your head to get this 3 level of motivation in place. And then you recite the Guru Yoga, and then you meditate. So that if you, how to say, if you make that habit of starting the day that way, then really the meditation becomes very effective. So there's a method, and the method works. You know, if one practice the right way, you know, there's really inner transformation is not difficult. No? All right, so we are going to recite the Guru Yoga of Lama Tsongkhapa. So please, if you have the text, either printed out or on one of your screens. So we start with the 9-round breathing for those which know. So you can do it the simple way. Just visualize inhaling 3 times by the right nostril, exhaling 3 times by the left, then reverse 3 times inhaling by the left, exhaling by the right, and 3 times inhaling with both together. Then imagine that you exhale in the center of your body 3 times. So you can do it just mentally, or you can do it with the hand mudra by blocking the nostril. And for those which know the tummo visualization, can do the tantric visualization of the 3 inner channel and try to bring the wind inside the central channel. Then you set up your motivation. Why do I take refuge? Why do I do this practice? So the first level of motivation is because I'm going to die, and where I'm going to be reborn depends on my karma. And who can guide me to create good karma, to get a good rebirth, is the Guru and the Buddhas in the space in front of me. So they have the quality, they are free, and they have the love and compassion to help me. So I rely on them. And then the second level is I want to become free from the mental affliction and all the suffering forever. And who can guide me there is someone which has reached that state of freedom forever. So those are the Buddhas. And then the third level, I aspire to bring all beings to enlightenment or to everlasting happiness. So who can help me to bring this about? Again, are beings which have reached that state of enlightenment, the Buddhas. So in the space in front of you, depending on your capacity of visualization, either you visualize a space of light that is imbued with all the qualities of enlightenment, infinite love, infinite compassion, joy, bliss, wisdom. Or if you can visualize, so you imagine within that space light energy body in the form of Shakyamuni Buddha and all the other Buddhas. So for example, there is a visualization in the King of Prayer. On every atom there is a Buddha surrounded by countless bodhisattvas. Or you can visualize the traditional refuge merit field with all the lineage Buddha coming from Shakyamuni Buddha down to your main teacher. Or you can just visualize one Buddha, like His Holiness Dalai Lama or Kyabje Zopa Rinpoche, as an embodiment of all object of refuge. So one can be quite creative, it doesn't need to be always the same. Or the main point is that they are the embodiment of enlightenment, and you try to feel their presence, that they are here with you. And that you entrust your heart, your life to be guided by them towards enlightenment. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. By my virtuous actions of giving and so on, may I become a Buddha to benefit all beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. By my virtuous actions of giving and so on, may I become a Buddha to benefit all beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. By my virtuous actions of giving and so on, may I become a Buddha to benefit all beings. So you imagine waves of light coming from the space or from the Buddhas, and imagine that you receive peace and light into you, that you're protected and guided by the Buddhas. With the next verse, so we open our heart towards all living beings. May all beings have equanimity, free of attachment and aversion. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings find good rebirth and the bliss of liberation. So here you open your heart and you feel like you care for all living beings. With the next verse is like when you invite a guest, when some guests come to your place, so you clean up the place, you make the place very nice, you know. So now we're going to invite the Buddhas. We're going to invite Buddha Lama Tsongkhapa into our room. So one mentally imagine the place very clean, very very beautiful. May the ground everywhere be pure, free of roughness and all flaws, soft as the palm of a child's hand, smooth as polished blue sapphire. And then with the next verse, not only do you clean the place, but you decorate it very nicely. So you make flower arrangement, you know, put crystals up, or prepare a nice meal. So you make the place very inviting, you know, very beautiful, so that the guest then come into your place. So mentally you create that space, that beautiful space. May all space with Samantabhadras, clouds of offering be filled, offerings human and divine, both actual and imagined. Then there's this mantra that we recite 3 times. So it's a mantra that makes all what you visualize multiplies infinitely. So whether you visualize a flower, it becomes an ocean of flower, or a light, it becomes an ocean of light. So it multiplies the offerings in your mind infinitely. And then not only it multiplies this offering, but it's the mantra makes that these offerings are seen by the Buddha and the Buddha enjoys them. So it has this special quality. So there's a huge amount of positive karma that one accumulates, positive energy, then to get realization by reciting this mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vajasara Pamadana Tathagataya Arate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tadyata Om Vaja Vaja Ma Vaja Ma Teza Vaja Ma Vidya Vaja Ma Bodhicitta Vaja Ma Bodhi Mandopa Samkramana Vaja Savakama Avarana Vijodhana Vaja Yeso Om Namo Bhagavate Vajasava Pamadana Tathagataya Arhate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tadyata Om Vaja Vaja Ma Vaja Ma Teza Vaja Ma Vidya Vaja Ma Bodhicitta Vaja Ma Bodhi Mandopa Samkamana Vaja Savakama Avarana Vijodhana Vaja Yeso Om Namo Bhagavate Vajasava Pamadana Tathagataya Arhate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tayada Om Vaja Vaja Ma Vaja Ma Teza Vaja Ma Vidya Vaja Ma Bodhicitta Vaja Ma Bodhi Mandopa Samkamana Vaja Savakama Avarana Vijodhana Vaja Yeso. So you imagine your mind expands, like when you travel on airplane, you go above the clouds. So then you see all these clouds, So you imagine these clouds are covered with offerings, and then the Buddhas enjoy this offering, and it generates bliss in the mind of the Buddhas, and because it's made up by your mind, so your mind also experiences bliss. So the next verse, we try to visualize the Pure Land of Tushita. So this is a Pure Land in space, where at the moment Maitreya Buddha, next Buddha, lives, and many of our gurus live there, right? Like Atisha, Lama Tsongkhapa, many gurus live in that Pure Land, and merely by visualizing that Pure Land, we create the cause for us to be born there. So that Pure Land in English is called the 100 Devas of the Joyful Realm. So there, so you imagine a Pure Land like a paradise. That paradise, people don't need to eat food, don't need to sleep. The temperature is always pleasant. The ground is smooth, and there's lakes, and there's beautiful trees and geese and deers, beautiful animals, parks. So, and then people are the people which are born there, so they get teaching from all these Buddhas and quickly gain realization. So there, in the center of that Pure Land, you visualize a beautiful mansion made of crystal and precious jewel. And then in the center of that mansion, you visualize a throne on which sits Maitreya Buddha. So merely visualizing Maitreya Buddha with aspiration, with faith, we create the cause to be born in his entourage when Maitreya Buddha comes to this world to teach the Dharma. So we will be some of his close disciples. So, and then from the heart of Maitreya Buddha, you imagine a cloud comes, clouds made out of light, and comes to the space in front of you in your room. And then on that cloud is three thrones. In the center one is Lama Tsongkhapa. On his right side is Gyaltsabje, and then on his left side is Khedrubje. So these were the two of the main disciples of Lama Tsongkhapa, and they became after the passing of Lama Tsongkhapa. So the Gyaltsabje became the first throne holder, the first Ganden Tripa, and then Khedrubje became, when Gyaltsabje passed away, then Khedrubje became the second throne holder, the second Ganden Tripa. So personally, so my three main teachers, His Holiness Dalai Lama, Lama Yeshe, and Lama Zopa Rinpoche. So for me, it's very convenient. The central figure, Lama Tsongkhapa, becomes inseparable from His Holiness, and then Gyaltsabje becomes inseparable from Lama Yeshe, and then Khedrubje inseparable from Lama Zopa Rinpoche. So when you visualize enlightened beings, you see we never met Lama Tsongkhapa, we never met Khedrubje or Gyaltsabje. So we don't know how it feels to be in their presence, but we know how it feels to be in the presence of our teachers. So there's this oral transmission that you have to see them as inseparable from your gurus, right? So that you can feel their presence, you know, like how it feels to be in the presence of His Holiness and your other teachers. So then suddenly the whole thing's awakened, you know, your heart gets connected. So that's what one visualizes when one recites the first verse. You who emanate on snow white cloud from the heart of Buddha Maitreya, Savior of 100 Devas, joyful rim, Losandrapa, all-knowing King of Dharma, with you to her disciple, I beseech you, please come before me. And then with the next verse, we ask our gurus, ask Lama Tsongkhapa to remain with us forever and to be close to one's heart, to be, In space, on lion throne, lotus and moon, my kind guru smiling with delight is the supreme field for my faithful mind. Please forever abide and teach us. Your holy man, O knows all phenomena. Your fluent speech a sweet melody. For the years of fortunate beings, your form resplendent with fame's glory. I prostrate to you who is meaningful to see, hear, and also bring to mind. Pure water and well-arranged flowers, fragrant incense like perfume and more. Clouds of offering, real and imagined, I offer you supreme merit fields. Non-virtues of body, speech, and mind, transgressions of my three sets of vows, committed sins beginning last time, all I confess deeply from my heart. In these times of degeneration, you made your life highly meaningful. Renounce all the eight worldly concern, strive for knowledge and realizations. In your extensive accomplishment, I rejoice deeply within my heart. Lama in Dharmakaya's clear sky, from clouds of wisdom and compassion, please rain down vast and profound Dharma upon us fortunate disciples. I dedicate all of these virtues to the Dharma, all living beings, and especially that the heart teachings of Losang Drapa remain forever. This ground adorned with perfume and flowers, Mount Meru for world, sun and moon. Imagined and offered as a pure land, may all beings enjoy this pure land. I send forth this jewel mandala to you, my precious Guru. So now you focus on, in the space in front of you, your root Guru as inseparable from Lama Tsongkhapa. So whether His Holiness Dalai Lama, Lama Yeshe, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, whoever your main Guru is, and while you recite or chant the praise to Lama Tsongkhapa, so you actually try to feel how it is to be in the presence of your teacher. So the joy, the love that radiates from him, the laughter, the jokes, the lightness that comes from a mind that is free from any mental affliction. So you try to feel that. And as you recite or chant the praise from your heart opens up towards him, and then light pours down from him into you. So whether you just focus on one or all three, whatever works for your mind. Mi mezze we te chen chen resi. Drime kiembe wambo jambe. Dumbu malu jomze sangwen. Ganchen kepe tsugyen songka. Lozandrapa shabla solwan. Chenre the great treasure of objectless compassion. Manjushri, Lord of stainless wisdom. Vajapani, destroyer of Mara's army. Tsongkhapa crown, jewel of Tibetan sage. Lozandrapa, to you I pray. Mimetse wente chenrezi, drime kiembe wambo jombelion, dumbo malu jomze sanweda, kanchen kebe tsuge tsongkaba, lozandraba shabla soadem. You are Chenrezi, great treasure of objectless compassion. You are Manjushri, Lord of stainless wisdom. You are Vajapani, destroyer of Mara's army. Tsongkhapa, crown jewel of Tibetan sages. Lozandrapa, to you I pray. Mimetse wente chenrezi. So you can recite the prayers either in English or in Tibetan, like a mantra. So here what you're actually saying is that you are like Manjushri. You have the same wisdom, the same intelligence, same knowledge as Manjushri. And then you have the same love, the same compassion as Chenrezi, the embodiment of the love and compassion of all Buddhas. And then you are like Vajapani. You have the same power and the same skillful means to help others as Vajapani. So you focus on your guru, inseparable from Lama Tsongkhapa, and you reflect that on his qualities of infinite wisdom, compassion, and skillful means. And then as you recite, you imagine light pours down from your guru, inseparable from Lama Tsongkhapa, into you. And then you invite, so you imagine that the two disciples merge into Lama Tsongkhapa, and then Lama Tsongkhapa comes to sit on top of your head, so facing the same direction as you. Magnificent and precious Root Guru, come to the lotus and moon above my head. Guide me with your great kindness and grant the realization of your holy body, speech, and mind. So now you imagine your central channel is completely aligned with Lama Tsongkhapa above your head. So you imagine from his heart, light pours down through his body and enters your head and completely opens all your chakra with light, fills your body with light energy. Magnificent and precious Root Guru, please rest on the lotus and moon at my heart. Guide me with your great kindness and stay with me always until I achieve enlightenment. So here, there's many ways to visualize that. So one way is that your Guru, inseparable from Lama Tsongkhapa, melt into light, a sphere of light, and that sphere of light with all the enlightened qualities enter by the top of your head and very gently comes down into your heart. So at the beginning, there's a distinction between this light that you enter into you and your own mind. Like when you put some dye into water, so at the beginning, the dye is a little bit separate from the water. So you have this new light entering into you, which is your Guru Lama Tsongkhapa, enlightened energy. But there's a separation between your mind and that enlightened energy. And then gradually, it fuses together, like when the dye you put in the glass of water, you stir it, and then the dye becomes inseparable, the color becomes inseparable from the water. So gradually, the light that you brought into your heart and your own mind becomes inseparable. So imagine that. So your mind and the mind of your Guru and the mind of your Lama Tsongkhapa become indistinguishable. So you imagine all the enlightened qualities of the Guru becomes one with your mind, and then mental affliction in your mind dissolve, and the quality of wisdom and compassion from your Guru imbues your own mind. So for a little while you see, you try to intimately feel your mind become one with the mind of Lama Tsongkhapa, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, Dalai Lama. So they are not outside anymore, they are within your mind, and very intimately, in a way that they are not anymore distinguishable from your mind. And from that space, then we meditate on Mahamudra. So within that experience of being one with Lama Tsongkhapa, mind, first you ascertain what is mind, what is consciousness or awareness. What is it to be conscious, to be aware? So the mind is clear in the sense that it's almost like a mirror. It reflects anything that appears in front of a mirror. So your mind reflects anything that appears. So any thought, any emotion, any mental object, your mind reflects. So anything can appear within your mind. The whole universe, down to a tiny atom. Any image from your memory, from the past, present, and even sometimes future, can appear within your mind. So the mind is clear, it doesn't obstruct anything. And then this aspect of knowing, all what appears is known, is cognized, you are aware of it. So that's what you try to taste, that is mind, that phenomena in which thought, mental image, emotion arise and are cognized. You are aware of them. That space is the mind. So you try to make abstraction of your body. You just focus on that awareness, that mind, that consciousness. So you try to let your body fade away from your attention and become completely one with mind. And you try to rest calmly in that space. It's like when you're close to a pond, the water is very flat, very still. So you try to make your mind very still, very calm. And if thoughts bubble up, so either you cut them, you prevent them from arising. Usually before a thought manifests, it bubbles up. So you can see a thought forming and you can prevent it from telling its story simply by preventing it from arising or chopping it off. So that's one approach. You block the thought before they invade your mind. And the second approach is to see that the thoughts, the mental image, the emotion, they are unsubstantial. So if you look into their essence, what is a thought made of? What is an emotion made of? You don't find anything and it vanishes. So you try to rest in the space-like nature of your mind. But you're constantly awake, completely awake, and you prevent the thought from arising or see them as transparent, as essenceless. And you rest in that space of the absence of thoughts. So while resting in a space, you are at the lookout. You try to see where the next thought is going to come from, and you prevent it from arising, or you already look that the next thought is going to be transparent, essenceless. By either of these two methods, you can prevent the thought from invading your mind, and you rest in that space of the absence of thought, fully awake, fully aware. And then when you have some success with that, you relax in that space. So you release the tension. Before there was this tension of looking out for the next thought to arise. And then once you are able to have some peace, some space, you relax a little bit that tension. And you become completely one with that space of pure awareness. So you try to establish a continuity of not forgetting that space. That's your thread. You follow that thread. One moment of awareness leads to the next moment of awareness, next moment of awareness. So you establish a continuity of being that awareness. And you rest. Like when you lie on an inflated mattress in a swimming pool. So you expand your mind to the surface of the swimming pool, completely relaxed, but not dozing off. You don't let torpor invade your mind. Your mind is crisp, is sharp, is awake. Now, while being in that space, try to open your eyes without losing that space, and you focus on the space between your eye and the object in front. So you put your mind, you rest your eyes on the space. Also the space around your body. So whether your eyes are closed or open, you can focus on this space of awareness. And then within that space of awareness, you shape yourself as a light energy body. You become conscious of a mental body that inhabits your physical body. And now, while being this mental light energy body, you imagine in your heart some warmth, your loving care for all living beings, or your loving care for one person. So as you exhale, you imagine you send love, warmth, caring energy towards that person or those person, and you try sincerely from your heart wishing that person or this person to be happy. So you try to let this love grow in your heart, this emotion. Let your love encompass more and more beings in its care. And gradually you try to eliminate the distinction. There's no you meditating on love, but you become love indistinguishably. That emotion that radiates from your heart imbues all the cells of your body and you become love. All right, so that's for today. So we read the dedication. By the merit of this virtue, may I become a Buddha and lead all living beings into that enlightened state. May the precious Bodhicitta, not yet born, arise and grow, and may that born not decline but increase more and more. In the snowy mountain paradise, you are the source of all happiness and good. Powerful Tenzin Gyatso Chenrezig, please remain until samsara ends. Savior of the snowlands, teachings and beings, you clarify the path that unifies emptiness and compassion. Lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso, may all your wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Peerless teacher and assembly of children of the victorious one, Shravaka, Pratyeka Buddha, victorious Losang, father and son, along with the lineage master, all the objects of refuge of infinite land, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teaching through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teaching, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings you suddenly depart to peace. What a great loss! Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the oceans of the three jewels, and the great waves of Bodhicitta, of the children of the victorious one, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. All right, so that session is finished for today. So those which have to go, please go. So I thought for the Facebook page, for those which like to interact in that way, I thought for today, maybe we could write, how you feel about your connection with your guru, how do you deal with, how do you move forward, from having lost Rinpoche in your life, and how do you move forward with that experience in your heart? So what's your refuge? How do you gonna move on from having lost this precious teacher? So during this next weeks, so we're going to go deeper into Mahamudra, and then gradually deepen our love, compassion, and bodhicitta, and then use the mind training method to bring that in everyday life. So I hope like that we are able to enrich our spiritual practice. Okay, so those which have to go, do your thing. And for those which like to interact a little bit, have some questions, or want to share some experience, you're welcome to remain a little bit longer. Okay. So I know many of you are not so familiar with Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga. So what's your feeling about among all the different Guru Yoga practice one does? How do you feel about Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga?
It is my favorite.
Who is speaking?
Elaine.
Elaine. Yeah. Very
Mine
nice.
too.
Yeah. So it's actually beautiful. Once it
Did we lose him?
Yeah, you're frozen.
Let's just wait and maybe he will come back. Venerable René, you're frozen. In the meantime, I'll let everyone know that the invites for the Facebook page, if you are not yet in that group, will go out this afternoon.
Thank you for all you've done to make this happen, Mary Ellen. I appreciate it.
There are a lot of us. There are a lot of us working behind the scenes here.
All of you, thank you. It's so precious, so precious. Thank you.
Yeah, he's dropped. He might try to rejoin, so I think we can. So also housekeeping. I put an email address in the chat earlier, and I'll put it in again. It's just for this group, so that if you have questions,
Sorry, my power went off. So,
welcome back.
yes, it's coming back. Yeah. So if you visualize Lama Tsongkhapa, with his golden hat on top of his head and the hand in the teaching mudra, and you visualize inseparable from your root guru, really strong blessing comes, So it's and it's very simple. And then when you recite the Mitsema, so I put in front you are Chenrezig, great treasure of you are Manjushri Lord. So that's actually in Thupten Jinpa's version. There's a book by Thupten Jinpa, Stage of the Path and Oral Transmission. So in this book, there's a commentary on Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, and he put that in front of each verse. You are Chenrezig, you are Manjushri, So actually, it has some. It's a kind of nice because in Tibetan you don't have this particle in front, so it actually helps. So sometimes I do without, and sometimes I do with them. So it adds that feeling. Oh, you are Chenrezig, you are Manjushri, you are Vajrapani. It adds something when one recites that way. So I think it's helpful. And then you have different visualizations. So I will explain gradually, different visualization one can do. Yeah. So any comment or any question?
Wait, Venerable René,
Elaine?
is it possible? Hello, it's Christine.
Okay.
Christine from Switzerland. Okay, is it possible to have your version? Because I thought that was the one we get in Sorens last time. But
Yeah.
because
So,
to sing, it's nice to have your words. Otherwise, it's not the same. Is it possible to have the version?
Yes, I think Marie-Hélène put it on It's on the email that she sent. The attachment is there, so you can
Okay, I have
download
to
it.
look. Okay, I
It's
didn't know.
also in the chat.
It's also in the chat here, she says.
Ah, okay.
Otherwise, I can just send it to you, Christine. It's no problem.
C'est gentil. Ah oui, the beginning. Okay.
Might be the easiest. So
Okay. I saw it at the beginning of the chat. I didn't see it.
Mhm.
yeah, I'll
Thank
send
you.
it.
Elaine?
I wanted to share that your visualization when the clouds come, and those of us who had the fortune to meet Lama Yeshe, to be able to see Lama Yeshe and Lama Tsopa Rinpoche and His Holiness, all three on clouds there and morphing into Lama Tsongkhapa and the two disciples. So powerful. I hadn't thought like that, but I love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bill has his hand up.
Huh?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, how do we learn the melody and rhythm of the chants? Just by practicing them with you, or?
Yes. I think probably there's a few people here which are good at chanting, like Elaine and Dai, so maybe at some point we can make a recording, so the problem with Zoom is kind of difficult to have two people speaking at the same time or chanting at the same time, so it's difficult to get that feeling yet of doing it together. That's the limitation of Zoom at the moment. No, but yeah, so I think we will work on it, to make it to make a recording, and then we can share it, and people which don't know can learn it like that. But I think gradually, if you do it a few times together, the tune is quite simple, so one picks it up after a while. Yeah.
I've had the good fortune of taking classes with Elaine several times, so I've learned some of them, and you both are beautiful singers, so I've enjoyed that very much. So would you recommend just kind of listening first and then chanting, or just chanting along?
Yes. Well, some people pick it up very quickly, and some people it takes more time, so it depends on one's ability, Yeah.
Thank you.
Venerable René,
Mhm.
when we first began working on these chants many years ago, the tune was more elaborate, and this is the one that I learned and the one that I use.
Mhm.
So if it comes to actually recording, maybe Dai would be good to record the actual exact version that you're doing. So
Yeah.
I just share that
Yeah.
because do you remember?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there are
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
melodic tunes
Yeah.
that we've
Yes.
initially created.
Yes.
So I just mentioned that.
It can be from very melodic to very simple, so there's many different versions going from one to the other. Yeah.
Well, I don't know which versions, this is Shankar, I don't know which versions were the most melodic, but I remember when we were doing these together in the early 2000s, this is the chant I remember. So this chant is, so somehow this is the chant I remember at least that we did.
Yes.
So-
Well, it's not very different. It's just a little bit more, yeah. Anyway, I think what's important is that it comes from the heart. You see, it doesn't matter whether it's exactly the way it is chanted. The important is that it comes from the heart, and that it opens the heart, with a feeling of longing, of admiration, and that it moves the heart, So that's it's an adaptation of the traditional Tibetan tune, that Lama Zopa Rinpoche and other. It's actually the traditional Gelugpa tune, but it's because of the way the syllables work in Tibetan is different than in English language. Has to need a little bit of adaptation.
Thank you, Venerable René.
Hello. Yeah. Nice to see you. Yeah. Anything else? Any question or comment?
Oh, I wanted to mention, if people, Thupten Jinpa's biography of, I found Thupten Jinpa's biography of Lama Tsongkhapa really, really inspiring, and really helps with this, to with especially the rejoicing part, where you're rejoicing and in the gurus and Lama Tsongkhapa's activities. It's really inspiring to read that book. Yeah, I found that so, at least.
Yes.
Um, I just wanted to say thank you so much for starting this series at this particular time, because it's such a potent period, the 49 days after Rinpoche's passing. And it's just so wonderful to have a way to really connect more deeply. So thank you.
Yeah. I think for me, what happened when Rinpoche passed away, actually one good friend asked me, oh, you already went through that when Lama passed away, so how was it at that time when Lama passed away? And I said, well, it was a little bit different, because when Lama passed away, Rinpoche was still there, right? So there was a continuity, there was an adaptation, because Lama was at that time, Lama was really the sun, So I met Lama in 79 at Kopan, and so morning Rinpoche would teach, and the afternoon Lama would teach. So the first Lamrim Kusadi, they were both always there. One was in the morning, one was in the afternoon. So you had both energy, right? And then really at that time, Lama was the big sun, Rinpoche was in the shadow mostly. Lama founded the FPMT, he founded Kopan, he founded the IMI. All the big center that started was Lama's energy, Lama's vision, So it was amazing, Lama was really this bright sunshine, and it was just, and everybody was just, melting in front of Lama, and Rinpoche was the perfect disciple, doing exactly what what Lama always asked him. He would give teaching, commentary, initiation, whatever Lama asked, he would do, but never being in front, he was always behind Lama. And then when Lama passed away, suddenly Rinpoche had to fill the shoes of what Lama was, So it was not easy for Rinpoche to take that persona, that, because Lama was such an amazing, overpowering sunshine of bliss, of joy and love. So when he passed away, so Rinpoche, from being in the shadow, the ascetic yogi and Mahasiddha, suddenly he had to take another persona. So it took a while for him to take on that new aspect, and then give it his own personality, So then the FPMT gradually changed, because Lama's time was more Mahamudra, Tantra, love and activities and things like that. It was simple Dharma, it was Dharma for hippies, it was simple, it was joyful, it was light, and then gradually Rinpoche structured it, he structured it around the Jocho Lama Chopa, and then translating text, prayer, structuring the sadhanas and things like that. So anyway, that's my experience of how this evolved, So I think people which never met Lama, which met the Dharma later than Lama Yeshe's time, so they think that the FPMT is Rinpoche's creation, that what came is Rinpoche, but actually, no, it was Lama's vision at the start, So Rinpoche, how to say, then on that base, he made it flourish bigger, you know, he made it, yeah. So, yeah, but the impetus at the start, you know, the spark was really Lama kind of, and yeah, so Rinpoche continued that and make it even better. But yeah, I think that's what happened to me when Rinpoche passed away. It suddenly made me aware of, again, of Lama, you know, how Lama created all that at the beginning. You know? So, and I think people which never met Lama, they don't know that aspect, you know, how, yeah. So, yeah, anyway. Yeah. So anybody else wants to share something from that? Maybe John, do you have something to say?
Karen has a hand up.
Who?
Karen? I can't hear you. Can you, you're unmuted, but I can't hear. If you want to type in the chat, I'll read it out for you.
Can you hear me now?
Very little.
How is that? Is that better?
No.
Okay, I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
Or John, you want to say something? Want to share something? You have to unmute yourself, John.
There are too many things going on in my mind to put it in words right now. Venerable René, except thank you.
If I could just add, I met Lama and Rinpoche in 1975 at Kopan at the November course. And of course, that completely changed my life. And I remember when Lama was talking about creating the FPMT, I mean, you're right. It was just, we were a bunch of hippies, and it was really difficult to imagine in the political and cultural climate we were living in, how that could even begin to manifest. And now, you know, seeing what Rinpoche actually has made of that vision and how he built it, not just in terms of sustaining that vast vision, but actually turning it into real concrete benefits in so many ways. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. So, you know, it's really a blessing to see how a Buddha works in the world and to see what's possible. And for me, that's the inspiration that I'm beginning to sort of come to, is that that's really what we're being called to do now. With Rinpoche's passing, each in our own way. So just feeling a lot of gratitude about that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what's in the chat is, does Venerable have a suggestion for us for the week ahead? Or perhaps a question for us to think about?
Yes.
Yeah, so I was thinking, like Robin was saying, you know, try to remember how your gurus changed your life, you know, what their qualities and kindness and how they manifest, you know, like it's interesting, like she mentioned, you know, how Rinpoche spread the initial spark in so many directions, you know, like taking care of animals, like building statues, stupas and centers, and taking care of monastery, you know, sponsoring Sarah. And so it's really vast, his activity. And then for translating text, you know, pujas, and making people do study program, becoming geshes, or master program, basing program, introduction to Buddhism. So all this structure has been put into place, and it is continue to grow even if our teachers are not there anymore, you know. And also he maintained connection. You know, it's not like some Lama, they create their own thing and they cut themselves from the tradition. Rinpoche really maintain his relationship with His Holiness, with Ling Rinpoche, Song Rinpoche, you know, all these great Lamas, they still have a great appreciation for the FPMT and for what Rinpoche did, you know. So we still we still friend with all the traditional Lamas, and they appreciate Rinpoche and they appreciate what the FPMT has become. So it's like easy to create connection with other Lamas, you know, because yeah, we have that's due to Rinpoche's kindness and how he worked, you know, in maintaining this tradition with Sarah and with all these Lamas. So that's beautiful. So I think to spend some time to appreciate, you know, what, like Robin was saying, you know, the enlightenment activities, how they manifest, you know, how Lama manifest, how His Holiness manifest, and how Kyabje Zopa Rinpoche manifest. So I think, yeah, merely focusing on the quality and kindness like that really opens the heart, and it says, you know, the best way to accumulate merit is to rejoice, you know. So if one can spend time rejoicing in what they have done for oneself and what they have done in the world, so I think that positive energy brings great joy and peace in our heart, you know, rejoicing. Yeah. Okay, I think that's all for this week. And so for those which have time next week, so we have another session next week. Okay, so I wish you good health and, you know, open heart, you know, and I think we all try to live a meaningful life, so it's wonderful, you know. So wish you all the best, and until next week. Okay. And if you have suggestion, you know, for things, you're welcome to share, you know, your suggestion to make the sessions even better. Okay.